Hello, everyone. Warmest welcome. Here's another expert conversations with me, Emee, here in Self Publishing Made Simple. And I'm really excited about this conversation that we're going to have today. Our very special guest is one of our amazing graduates from the Get It Done Challenge in the June 2020 cohort. And we're here to talk about her journey and her experience about writing her book and actually her future plans now that she's a best-selling author on Amazon. But before we get into that, let me just give you a very brief background on our guest today. She's a qualified pet bereavement counselor and best-selling author of How to Recover from Pet Loss, supporting you on your journey to acceptance. She supports her clients through the grieving process so that they can heal and perhaps open their hearts and homes again should they feel that it is the right thing for them after the loss of their pet. So I'm really interested about this topic, especially with me being a chartered psychologist myself. So it would be a fascinating discussion into this topic and also what she's planning to do now that she has her own best-selling book. So without further ado, let's all welcome Wendy Andrew. Hi, Wendy.
Hi, Emmy. Thanks for having me.
I'm really, really excited about this conversation, Wendy, because first of all, I know that you have so much passion. I really do admire your passion about this particular topic because it's somewhat a neglected topic. People don't really talk about this, or even when people do say that they are grieving for their pet, it's almost as if they are embarrassed that, people are going to make fun of them, or maybe some people are actually making fun of them. So it's something that's worth talking about. And also, now that you are a best-selling author, I'd really love to have that conversation with you as well in terms of your journey and what you're planning to do next. So, Wendy, if for those people who don't know you, could you tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up being a pet bereavement counselor?
Okay, sure. Well, my name's Wendy Andrew, and I'm from Glasgow in Scotland. And I have my own dog walking service. And one of the dogs that I walk became very seriously unwell after swallowing some ibuprofen at home. And as I've walked this dog since she was a young pup, in fact, before she was even out on the group walk, I was doing puppy visits. So I've known her. Oh, talking of puppies, this is my one
Hi, Pixie.
Pixie. She's making an escape. This is the boss. Um, they do say never work with children and animals. So here we go. But yes, Belle was very, tragically very unwell after a incident at home. And I wanted to know how the best way was to support her owners, because, I was very emotionally invested as well. I was very upset and worried and, you know, just felt like, saying, you know, what what's the situation? How is she? How are you? Trying to support them in the right way, but not really knowing if I was doing it right.
Mm.
So I decided after that that the best thing that I do for my clients is to educate myself and, be there, in a supportive way, and offer a cradle to grave service for the dog walking industry, because unfortunately dogs just don't live as long as we do, which is a very, very sad fact of life. So as I say, I wanted to learn more about that particular subject so that I could support people in the right way. And then I discovered that it's a needed service across the board. So I decided to open that up to everybody, not just my own clients. And so I founded the Scottish Pet Bereavement Counselling Service.
That's amazing. I mean, you've actually identified a need that you've seen in your own practice, and you understood that there might be some gaps that you need to fill in your skills that you're not really confident enough to go to offer support. So you actually educated yourself. You got the training, you got the qualification, and I think that's what I found fascinating with you, Wendy, is that you're open to learn, and you are honest with yourself when you know that you actually need to improve something. So you now have your pet bereavement counseling service. What sort of issues that you found with your clients? What sort of messages do you hear all the time from your clients when they are grieving from the loss of their pet?
Yeah, well, as you mentioned earlier on there, disenfranchised grief, which is grief that is not accepted or supported in society. And very often people, feel that they're being mocked, or, people will say well-meaning but unhelpful things like, are you going to get another one? Or, oh, it's just a dog, or it's just a,
Hmm.
and that can be so hurtful and so upsetting to people who are grieving the loss of their best friend.
Mm.
And they've lost that source of unconditional love in their life. And for people to be quite dismissive and to invalidate their feelings is really not helpful at all. And it leaves people feeling unsupported and like they've got nobody to speak to about it because people don't understand. So that was one of the reasons that I wanted to open it up to anybody anywhere that needs it. And because we now live in such an online era, I offer an online service for counselling, especially now that we're in the COVID situation. um, I've stopped doing face-to-face counselling. Possibly temporarily I might go back to face, but certainly for the foreseeable future it will be an online service that I offer. And a lot of clients as well, they suffer very badly from guilt,
Mm.
particularly if there has been a situation where the dog has maybe run away, or the cat has run away, or the bird flew out the window, and they're very racked with guilt with all the I should have done this, or had I known I would have acted differently. um, or even when it comes to the time to euthanize, if
Yeah.
their pet is perhaps unwell or reaching the end of their natural life through old age, they wonder, you know, am I being selfish in waiting, or am I doing it too soon? Is there hope of a miracle cure? Will they last a bit longer? And really, at that point, I always advise on doing a quality of life assessment.
Mm.
And people know their own pets and companion animals better than anybody, so they will know when the time is right and when the pet is ready to go. So there's a lot of emotions
A
that
lot of
are
complexities
experienced.
in there, and it's good that you actually do understand this, being someone who absolutely loves animals, and you do understand what it's like to lose a pet as well. But these are things that you do talk about in your book, right?
Yes, every chapter in the first part of the book explores the different emotions that people might experience, and it's quite heavily based on the Elizabeth Kubler-Ross model, the 5 stages of grief. But with the, sorry, I've got a squeaky toy situation here at the side.
That's all right.
The 5 stages of grief that everybody is very familiar with, which was actually not intended for the grieving process as such. It was designed to support terminally ill patients
Mm-hmm.
come to terms with their situation, but it has become widely accepted in the broader context of grief of any
Grief.
sort.
Yeah.
But I also explore anticipatory grief, which a lot of pet people do experience in the lead up to the end of life, and also guilt. So I do explore
it's
every
it's
emotion.
actually good that you actually did cover that particular aspect, because yes, for some those who have their pets, sometimes, yeah, it could be sudden, but more often than not, there's this process of the pet getting unwell, and they're just aging, really, and it's their time, and you have this complex emotions that you actually, your pet is still there, but it's getting towards near their death, and you will be facilitating that process somehow. And how do you come to terms with that? So that's something that you cover in your book as well.
Yes, I think that's a really important point, and it's the first chapter in the book, is the anticipatory grief, because really anticipatory grief is like a kind of a crash course in grief, because you have everything hitting you all at the one time. And that can be extremely difficult. So I think that was a good point to start the book, because it really is the kind of first step for a lot of people, is actually, making that decision. And, even myself, Pixie's still, hello, right on cue. To throw her toy for her. She's still quite a young dog. She's only 5, but I have bouts of that myself. About I can't imagine a day when I'm when she's not here, when I'm not with her, and it can be upsetting, even just in passing, as a momentary thought. You look at them when they're asleep, and you think, oh, how precious and beautiful, and you just think, God, I can't bear the thought of a day where she's not around, and as you get closer to that time, that feeling becomes more, prominent in your mind, and particularly if there's an illness or old age, these things, do prey on your mind a lot more. So I think the good thing about the book is it can prepare you for that time. Some people perhaps think it's a book to read afterwards, once it's happened, but I actually think it's hugely beneficial to prepare and to be knowledgeable about what you may experience. Some people may experience 1 or 2 emotions, some people may experience all of them in a different order, but I think it's important to know what lies ahead and what you can do about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the good thing with your book is, yes, of course, you can buy it for yourself. But if you also know someone who might be grieving the loss of their pet or might be close to that point, it could be a gift for them as well. Because if you don't know how to, I've been in that position, even as a psychologist, when my husband's dog passed away, he was just absolutely distraught. It's like, yeah, a family member, for them, a family member passed away. And even if they really did anticipate, because I think Robbie was 14 years old, he lived a good life, and it was his time, but it was just still absolutely devastating. He was absolutely distraught. My sister-in-law was speechless. So even as a psychologist, I don't really know what to do. I don't really know what to say, because it was really so close. So I think having a book like yours, could provide that support and comfort for those who are grieving, and for those who want to offer support, and they don't really know how to handle it.
Yeah, well, again, that is a very valid point, because a lot of times people don't know what to say, and when we go back to the disenfranchised grief, sometimes they don't know what to say, but they feel obliged to say something, and they say the wrong thing. So sometimes, with a book like this, as you say, it can be a very thoughtful and compassionate gift, and a way of saying, I don't really know what to say or do to help you, but this might be of benefit to you. And in fact, this morning I had a lovely tweet where I was mentioned, and I was so touched because the person was reaching out to somebody else, said that they read my book and it really helped, and I was really touched by that. And I've had a lot of really positive feedback, so it is, a lovely thing to give to somebody, and it shows that you care, it shows that you have compassion, and it shows that you want to help and to do something to help them through this very difficult period in their lives.
Yes, absolutely. And actually, Wendy, when we first met, the thing that sort of struck me when I met you was you really have this passion to talk about disenfranchised grief, that people are just brushing off these emotions because it's just a pet. No, it's not just a pet. But tell us a little bit more about this. Why do you feel so passionate about this, and how do you think your book can help with stimulating the dialogue, around this area?
Yeah, thank you. I really do feel very passionately about it, because I think for a lot of people, their pet can be their only companion or their only source of the unconditional love. And when that goes, the people are absolutely devastated. So it can be, you know, particularly bad for people when you consider the human companion animal bond. Then to me, it's an absolute no-brainer. Of course, people are going to be devastated. Of course, they're going to be super upset, you know, and there's no time limit on that grief either. And it's a compassion issue for me. And I really want to be able to use this platform that, you know, has quite unexpectedly presented itself to me, you know, to be able to talk about it and to open dialogue and to make people be a bit more considerate. And, you know, earlier in the year when Caroline Flack, the TV presenter, you know, very tragically committed suicide, the internet was full of "be kind." And I don't want that to be a passing hashtag or a
Mm.
passing trend. Be kind, be considerate, be compassionate. Think about how other people are feeling and think about how your words can affect them. Because during the grieving process, it is an issue of mental health. And for people to be dismissive of that can really set people back quite considerably in their grieving process and be very detrimental to their mental and emotional well-being. So I'm hoping that, as I say, using this as a platform and an opener for the dialogue about it, that people will be kind and they will be more compassionate towards others and how they're feeling.
Absolutely. And I absolutely love this because I did notice from week one in our Get It Done challenge, when we were identifying your why and your the purpose of your book, your purpose is so grounded in this. It's like you're a woman on a mission, to
Yes,
have more compassion over grief, particularly around pet loss. And I think this your why, your sense of purpose really drove you forward in the Get It Done challenge. I think it's you and Joyce who sort of really completed it, bang on time, week on week. We were just powering through with your writing because this sense of purpose was just so fueled in you. You just kept going, and
I
you
had a
got
great need to get it done.
well,
And
yeah,
the Get It Done,
absolutely. Yeah, it's
yeah, the
it's
Get It Done challenge is so appropriately named. Hi, Pixie. You know, so yeah, I was just so, I need to get this message across. I'm
it
so
needs to
driven.
be out,
It
right? So
needs to be spoken
and
about,
and
and I
and
was
that's
just
why
passionate
we
about it.
we we started with understanding your purpose. Even before you start with the first word of your book, you really need to be grounded in your why. And you are a very clear example of that you are so clear and so deeply passionate about why you want to write this book, that even after we've done our keyword research, and we did struggle a little bit with your keyword research because we found that on the market people aren't looking for a book on pet loss and bereavement and that kind of stuff, because probably people aren't talking about it. And instead of being feeling down that, oh no, people, there's no demand for it, you just still powered through. It's like, yeah, okay, they're not talking about it, something has to be done, and you just went ahead with it and powered through the Get It Done challenge. Every single week you were turning up, giving us updates. And it's just so inspiring, when you finally published it and launched it to number one. It's just absolutely amazing.
Thank you so much. And so many people, the feedback has been incredible. And the thing that has touched me the most is people saying that they didn't know they needed it until they
Mm,
read it. You know,
yeah.
people, myself even, you know, have suffered pet bereavement in the past and completely buried their feelings, you know,
Yeah.
and people have said, I cried when I read it. And I'm like, hey, that's fine. I cried when I wrote it.
Well, I have to say, with my husband, I think we've had this conversation, and you did have a conversation with him, right?
I
He
did,
said,
I did.
when he saw your cover, he just was just absolutely emotional about it. It's like he felt so touched when
Mhm.
he saw your cover. It actually
And that meant so much to me. It really
it
did. I was so blown away
captures
by that
it
because I
captures
designed
that
the cover myself,
emotion. Yeah,
and I
yeah.
just thought, you know, it was just something that I wanted to do, um, because I had a clear image in my head of wanting to grab emotion. And I was so touched that your husband actually wanted to speak to me about it. That meant the world. It was incredible.
And I'm sure, Wendy, you're going to have so many more testimonials and people reaching out to you, understanding that, yeah, you have this book now. The book is a stepping stone. It's going to open up conversations. You'll have more engagements. And what are your plans now that you have a best-selling book in your hands?
I'm just going to see what happens and see where it takes me. And, really, I want to just get the word out there that the pet bereavement support industry exists. I'm actually part of an incredible network of pet bereavement counsellors. And we do exist. We're out there to help people. And a lot of people kind of say, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. And I'm like, yes, it's a thing. So
Mm,
I feel that I have to raise awareness that the industry exists. I have to raise awareness of the issues within pet bereavement. And I also want to, sort of have conversations about different aspects of pet bereavement and grief, so that people know that what they're feeling is perfectly normal. It's completely valid. They're entitled to how they're feeling, and they shouldn't be ashamed of that or feel that they're unsupported or being made fun of in a lot of respects.
mm,
Really awful. If somebody lost, for example, a lot of people who perhaps have a service dog or an emotional support dog, that's an incredibly important dog in their life, and that can be for any pet. You can have an emotional support animal of any species. It's not species specific by any means. So I really just want to, as you said, open up the dialogue and use my platform for good, and to get the word out there so that people are aware that there are people out there that genuinely want to help them through this.
absolutely. And yeah, now that you have a book, this will open up opportunities for you to be on stage, to be on magazines and on TV. I'm really hoping that you would go on is it the Lorraine show? Like what's her show called? Like that morning show
Yes.
with
Well,
Lorraine.
my publicist has been putting the feelers out in the media, and there has been a bit of interest. And Lorraine Kelly actually does have a lovely border terrier called Angus,
Oh, right.
and so we'll just need to watch this space and see what happens. But if I could reach out to the nation, you know, and
Absolutely.
let them know pet bereavement counsellors are here to help you, particularly at this time, when social support is restricted
Mm.
because we don't have the same access to our usual networks at work or within the family or within our peer group. And I think during lockdown, this was why the book became so important to me, because it's an era of financial uncertainty. We don't know how long this is going to go on for, and people don't have the same support. They maybe have financial constraints that mean that they can't afford counselling at this moment, even though they desperately want it or maybe need it. So I felt that the book was a very good low cost option, or even if
Mm.
it was gifted, just something to let people know that there is help there for them.
Yeah,
So
just to reach out and give that support. And in your case, yeah, with your book, yes, you are raising awareness. People will start talking about it, giving support to each other. And in my mind, I think that at some point this will get into the hands of a policymaker, someone who is absolutely influential, who could change some of the laws around work and, having, I don't know if some organizations already have like a pet bereavement leave or something like that. Do you know anything about this area, Wendy?
yes, well, I actually did cover some of that in my book. I would love to encourage employers to incorporate or implement a pet bereavement um, policy in their HR practices. Um, and this really became quite important when I became aware of a local girl who lost her job because of her pet dying. And she'd basically had her dog since she was 4 years old, and she was 18 when it died. So the dog was 14 years old. So throughout her entire life, she'd had this companion, and she was so devastated that she felt she couldn't work the next day. And her employer was not sympathetic at all, and basically said, you either have to work or have somebody cover your shift, or you will lose your job. And she was so devastated that working was not even an option. She couldn't find anyone to help out, and she did lose her job. And I was absolutely disgusted that somebody was treated this way during the grieving process. And I think it's really bad business sense also, because for the sake of giving somebody a day or two off
to cope, it's a mental health issue.
it would, if they had been given that little bit of compassion, it would strengthen the bond between employer and employee. And making somebody lose their job, they're going to have to cover that person by paying overtime to other employees. They would maybe need to pay for recruitment costs and training costs to replace that person. So it really does make good business sense just to give a day or two off. And I do actually offer a corporate package, either for counselling or to advise employers on how to move forward with. And I also became aware of legislation, which I was really horrified at, particularly because I adopted Pixie privately. So I don't have, a kind of from a shelter or anything. I don't have any receipt or proof of ownership as such, because it was done personally. And I was recently approached by an organisation called Bring Your Pet Home. And they basically help people whose dogs have perhaps lost or indeed stolen. And the police have been involved and they can't get the pet back because it's a civil matter, and not in any way, shape or form, bashing the police. They do an excellent job. But they're just basically following procedure. And unfortunately, the domestic animals are classed as chattel, which is a personal possession. So if they were, lost or, found or stolen, they would very often end up in a shelter. And people are facing thousands of pounds worth of legal bills to try and prove that that is their own dog. And not everybody can afford that, especially now. And it's thousands of pounds of legal bills, and a microchip is not proof of ownership. And I was horrified by that. And it's not even a legal requirement for vets or shelters to check for a microchip. It is good practice, but it's not a legal requirement. So, there's a lot of things that need to change, and I'm quite determined to be the one to change it.
I can actually see that happening with, as I've said, you're so passionate about this, and you've written a book about this, you're talking about this, and you have a publicist helping you out get on all these speaking engagements on radio, on magazines and podcasts and so on. So I really do hope that you just keep going, Wendy, because you are a woman on a mission, and you will help so many people, not just on a one-to-one basis, but as you are talking about it now, on a more policy and structural level, to actually make that change. And it's gonna be your legacy, and a lot of pet lovers and pets will appreciate for all your work.
Cute. Well, I just think of Pixie, whom I absolutely adore, as because I don't have proof of ownership as such in the eyes of the law. If she, as she does, takes off after squirrels or, whatever, if she became lost, I just hate to think of her sitting in a shelter by herself, terrified, wondering when I'm going to come and get her. Meanwhile, I'm back at the ranch, fighting tooth and nail with the law. So I just think the law needs to be changed. And I didn't realize how much of a mission I was on when I started this. But I
And
really, really am. And I'm
and
totally on the side of the pet parents. You know, I'm going to champion them. I will be an advocate for them, and I will do whatever I can within my power, my ability, my platform. I will do whatever I possibly can to make sure that change happens.
wonderful. And excuse me. And I do hope that writing a book has been a good experience for you. And now that you do have a book, that it's also helping you to raise awareness and helping you on your mission. But if you have any message for our members here in the self-publishing Made Simple community who are also on a mission like you, probably not in terms of pet loss, that's one of your mission, maybe some of our members might be on a mission to improve the quality of life of mom entrepreneurs, or there might be those who are on a mission for LGBT equal rights or racial equality and so on. So if you have a message to someone who is on a mission, who is passionate about something and thinking about writing a book to get their message out, what do you have to say to them?
Do it. It's as simple as that. Do it. Get your message out there. If it's something you feel strongly about, do it. It's a great community. Everyone's so supportive. Your guidance has been completely invaluable throughout this entire process. Again, you're so passionate about what you do, and you're facilitating people to make change. Because without the Get It Done challenge and without your guidance and leadership, I wouldn't have been able to do this. I wouldn't have, thought to have done this. And the community gets really behind everybody. Everyone is a cheerleader for each other,
Mm,
and it's such a supportive environment, and quite often in life, you do have supportive friends and people around you. But it's so nice that everybody is in the same environment and they're on the same page as you. And as I say, everybody's a cheerleader. So I think it's a perfect environment to flourish and to bounce ideas off each other, get creative. There's a lot of very talented people within the group that provide support. And although I designed my front cover, I did need help with the back cover and the paperback version, and that help was found via yourself in the community. So there's a lot of things about formatting that I was too frightened to go near, and again, following your guidance, I found people that helped with that. So really writing the book was kind of the easy part.
yeah.
There's so much more to it, but the support is there. If you're passionate about your message and you want to make change, or even just further your career, or write something that's going to benefit within your industry, don't be afraid of trying, because the help and support is around in the community to help you to do that. So don't be put off and don't be overwhelmed.
I love it. And and I have to say, with particularly, the Get It Done Challenge June 2020 cohort, I think I've attracted people who are passionate like you, who are writing a book because they have a message to share. They want to help other people, whether it is through their business, through their practice, and so on. And they're using their book as a way to raise awareness and expand awareness. And what I've noticed is, yes, you were right. It's actually the writing that's sort of the easy part. People started freaking out when we start talking about launch team and cover and book description and book promos. But
I was one of those people.
but the thing is, because we have our weekly group coaching calls, you can see that you're actually not the only one who asks these questions. So, you are all on the same page. Okay, you and Joyce might be a little bit more advanced because you actually absolutely know what you want to write about. Even before the challenge started, it was absolutely crystal clear what your mission is and what you want to write about. But everybody's learning together, supporting each other, giving feedback when someone is feeling scared, because I'm going to be in front of so many people writing this book. What if people judge me? it's such a supportive community, and it just makes my job so much easier when the community actually support each other. And I'm really grateful that you did join us in the June 2020 cohort, and now you have your best-selling book, and you're out there. You're gonna change the policy. You're gonna change the dialogue, the conversation around this topic. And I'm absolutely certain that um you're gonna make a difference because you've written this book. So it's such an honor to see you through this process, and to be able to support you in this process.
Thank you. I really appreciate everything that you've done for me. And, as I say, your advice has been priceless. I think it's such a worthwhile thing that you do to facilitate everybody getting their message out there. And, if I can mention Julie for a moment, my dear friend Julie Leonard.
Your
um
buddy who is also smashing it on Amazon right now.
yes, I'm
Absolutely
so
amazing.
so proud of her. And the book was actually her idea, and she's the most amazing life coach. And she had basically said to me, I'm going to write a book, you should do this as well. And
Mm.
Julie has seen me through some enormous life changes, and held my hand the whole way. And she really is a terrific life coach. And her bringing me and you together was just an incredible thing. And
It was such a blessing to witness that collaboration, that accountability. You can see, well, we've seen how you've supported each other, and when you both launched, and now it's Julie's turn to launch her book and absolutely smashing it on Amazon right now. It's
and it,
we cheer for her. And
yes, everyone's a cheerleader in the group, and it's wonderful. But she sort of encouraged me to do this, and this is why I'm so proud of her. And her book is going to be doing well for years. I'm absolutely certain of that. I think she's got great things to come because of her book. And I am a living example of what she can do for people as a life coach, because not only has she transformed her own life, she's helped me to do it myself.
yes,
So
and I think with
it's
in
wonderful.
your case, yes, your book will change conversations, and hopefully policy and law, and helping others in on a personal level. But with Julie, it's actually similar, that she's also helping others to achieve intentional happiness. How to be
Yeah.
happy and remain happy. But at the same time, it will also help her business. I'm pretty sure of that. In terms of her brand awareness, and awareness around her coaching practice, and so on. And I'm just so delighted to be able to support you both in the process, and to witness that camaraderie, that accountability that you gave each other. And as I've said, it just made my job so much easier.
And
Bec-
her book being called Intentional Happiness, you can see by the size of my smile, that I
yeah.
am so happy. Although pet bereavement is such a tragic and
Mm.
sad subject, I'm so honored and happy that I can make positive changes with her guidance and with your guidance. It makes me happy to fulfill my purpose.
Wonderful. Well, Wendy, thank you very much for for this conversation. And I do hope that for those of you who are watching this on replay, I hope that you picked up something that will inspire you to write and publish your book. I mean, you've seen here how passionate Wendy is with her mission. She's a woman on a mission. She wants to change the world. Well, at least in terms of how we talk about pet bereavement, and how we treat each other with compassion when it comes to pet bereavement. But if you are someone who has this burning desire to help others, or this burning desire to raise awareness about something, maybe you've been through a difficult life experience yourself, and you want to share what it's like, and what kind of support your message can give to others. Be inspired by Wendy's story, and her passion to get her message out. If you are afraid that people are going to judge you, well, sorry to say, yes, people will judge you, but you still have to do it anyway, because if your message is that big and if you are so passionate about it, go for it. And if you are absolutely terrified, come and join us. You are already here in the self-publishing Made Simple community. And if you want to get it done, we can do it together through the next cohort of the Get It Done Challenge, which starts in January 2021. I know it's a long time from now, but it's something to think about. And if you want to join us, the next cohort, is happening then. So once again, Wendy, thank you very much for joining us. And thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll catch up again next time for another expert conversations with me, Emmy, here in Self Publishing Made Simple. Until then, take care and bye for now. Bye.